In this video, I want to revisit the temptation narrative. And in the last video and assignment, we focused quite a bit on what would be like, the literary world and then the historical world, particularly coming from the Craybill information. But what I want to try to do in this uh, in this assignment is engage the temptation narrative through a contemporary world view or lens. One of the ways that I think that we could understand these temptations is there was three temptations: that Jesus would turn the stones to bread, that he would do something miraculous in the temple, and then the last one to get all power, all power and authority from the devil. So I think one of the ways that we can view this is this temptation that the devil had to Jesus. It was ultimately that he would operate outside of his identity as God's son. It wasn't so much to do these things, but I think if the devil could get him to forget that he is the Son of God, then he would have done his job. As we saw, the temptations were immediately after Jesus was baptized. It was immediately after God had spoken affirmation over Jesus as his son. And then that's when Satan comes to tempt. So I want to try to apply this to our lives a little bit. Again, contemporary world stuff. What does this mean to apply it to our lives? Well, I think what it means when Satan asked Jesus to turn bread or to turn stones into bread, fundamentally, I think that is him tempting Jesus to find his identity in the things that he does, in his performance, in sort of like the to-do list of what Jesus, kind of needed to do. So I'm going to ask that question to us. I want you to engage with this. I'm just kind of wondering, and I want you to post down below. I'll make another forum for you. What are ways that you see people in the world today? Maybe that's even yourself. You can apply it to yourself for sure. To what extent do you find your identity in the things that you do, the things that you're able to accomplish? The second one, the temple. We know that Jesus was tempted to garner the praise and the affections of the religious leaders. So applying that to ourselves, I'm wondering about this question. How do we find our identity in the approval of other people? Anybody, whether that's religious leaders or even your instructor or your family or whatever. And then the final one is, we know the temptation was for Jesus to take all power. I'm wondering, in what ways do you see people, again, or even yourself, finding your identity in what you have, the power and the possessions that you have? I think that those are really important questions, and ultimately I think that that is at the core of the temptations for Jesus, that he would find his identity in those three things. One of my favorite authors, his name is Henry Nouwen, and he actually says that there's five lies of identity about who we are. I'm just boiling it down to three right now. That we believe some lies of our identity, that we are what we're able to accomplish. That would be the bread again, right? Or we are what other people think of us. That's doing, that's Jesus's temptation in the temple. And then the last one is that we find the lie of identity is that we are what we have or what we possess, whether that's power or possessions. So I'm going to create another forum for you, and I'd like you to post your responses to those 3 questions, and then I want you to respond to one other person in the class.